Financial planners in Australia, life has probably never been more interesting. On one hand, I'm guessing, and the expert here, Ian Stevens, is going to chat to us a little bit more about this today. But on one hand, your business is probably, in inverted commas, going crazy because all your current clients are phoning you, wanting to know about their investments, where do they stand financially, and probably a lot of panic. So you're working hard, but your business growth and new business development is probably suffering as a result. So here to give us some advice during these trying times is Ian Stevens. Ian, thank you for joining me on scottcundill.com.
Pleasure, Scotty. Good to be here. And you're right. I mean, financial planners have come off the back of, having the whole industry just under the spotlight around compliance and, the government looking at how that industry does things and a royal commission. So, there's been a lot of turmoil, and now we get hit with COVID-19, which is really going to be putting them behind the eight ball. So it really is about what they do to keep some leads heading into the pipeline as they deal with existing clients that are obviously stressing.
Well, let's go straight into it, Ian. Let's talk about that pipeline, because you've trained many salespeople, sales professionals, and one of the key areas you focus on is the financial planning sector. It's a face-to-face business. It really always has been. Your relationship with your financial planner is one of trust, it's credibility, it's respect, and it's meeting those clients for coffee or face-to-face. That's pretty much gone for the foreseeable future. Hopefully it will return. What do they do in the meantime?
Yeah, well, for the next 3 to, I personally believe, 6 months, you are going to have to up your skills at being able to engage and connect with people, build rapport over the phone, but certainly, know how to and get some technical training on how to run a good interactive, engaging online Zoom meeting like we're doing here, because that's going to be the norm. And let's think about, I guess I have a bit of a sanguine mindset to this. So the definition of sanguine is staying positive even in the light of really difficult circumstances, and boy are we going through that as a planet at the moment. So staying a little sanguine, I think the upside here is that we'll come out of this being able to be a lot more effective with our time, because our client base out there will get used to, over the next 6 months, having a discussion with you via Zoom from their home. You'll be in your office. It won't suck up as much time. It'll just be more effective and efficient. But never forget that face-to-face is a much stronger rapport builder than on the phone. Up the ante on your skill to have impact and influence through an online discussion like we're doing today.
I agree with that. And especially now as we're having this discussion, I mean, there's little tricks and tips, and maybe one day we should actually do a tricks and tips on how to do a virtual meeting, because I think it's so useful. Just things like using your hands. And I notice you do it a lot, your facial expressions, you change your tone of your voice and those kind of things. But those are tips, but just getting down to a grassroots level. Now, can you give a little bit of advice for a financial planner? The phone is obviously ringing. You're helping your clients in a crisis situation. Instead of just helping them with their crisis and moving on, do you have any advice for them while you've got them on the phone, or while you've got them on Zoom, or however you're speaking to them, just to add something else that might just help them boost the relationship, or just any kind of advice on that relationship building process?
Yeah, well, I'm going to mention something that'll have some financial planners uttering the F word, and that is fear. That's fear, Scotty, not the other F word,
right,
fear.
Right. Yeah.
Because as soon as I mentioned that if you're having a great discussion helping your existing clients through this crisis, and they've got high rapport levels, high trust in you, you're really adding value, now is the friggin' time to ask, is there anyone else in your community that should be getting a professional like me to look at their financial position and help them set themselves up to get through this and plan for the future. So it is the perfect time time to ask for referrals. But see, what we're now getting into as a master practitioner in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, so that's what's going on in your neurology, and that's going to show up in your languaging. I've only got to say to financial planners, like I have over the years, you know, you've got to do asking for referrals, and instantly out of their mouth comes, oh, that's too salesy, I don't want to do that. And so they're not in the habit, and they have a limiting belief about it. So you need to do some work on changing that limiting belief. It is an essential time right now to be asking for referrals from the existing clients that you are hand-holding through this crisis. It's a perfect time. They've got high trust levels in you. You know, so support them to, you know, give you a name or two that you can reach out to and ask them to pave the way for you to be able to call and have an initial telephone chat with them. The other tip I've got for financial planners, and again, this is not part of their identity, because they get into this to be a professional financial planner. So they haven't necessarily come into it from being used to being a salesperson, and there's negativity attached to that. But even in amongst the busyness of what's going on with existing clients, you have got to, it's not a should, it has to be a must, put 2 or 3 hours in the diary every week that is isolated for you to focus on networking, prospecting, asking for referrals, trying to get some new opportunities into the pipeline, because otherwise, you know, your existing client base is not going to see you through this. It's not going to, well, it's certainly not going to see you grow as a practice.
That is a really good point. And as you know, we've worked together on this very point, you know, the combination of helping you build your pipeline and then converting that pipeline into actual business. And one of the things we've seen, and this is why, and we've already introduced clients to you and you're working with them, and the one thing that they love, and maybe you could just reiterate this point, is that when you have somebody to push you, like a physical, you know, a gym coach, making you do those 2 to 3 hours a week on your pipeline, you have to do it. How do you get it into your mindset? Because if you're not doing those couple of hours a week on focusing on growing your business and that sales pipeline, you're not going to grow your business. So do you have any tips as an NLP expert for the financial planners to just get into that mindset where I'm not being a salesman per se, but I am being a really good nurturer of new prospects?
Yeah, is to get yourself a good podcast report. Now, if you don't have some CRM that does it for you, then just, you know, set up a simple Excel spreadsheet and, you know, reach out via, you know, Majestic. What's your website, Scotty?
Majestic3.com.
Okay, majestic3.com. If you want Scotty to hook you up with me and and I'll send you an example of what I use. It's simple, but it's the most inspirational, motivational tool I've got, because I'm putting opportunities in there and assessing the probability of them actually becoming a client and tracking my pipeline. And what that's doing on a weekly basis, I update it every Friday, is it's giving me a good dose of reality as to whether I've got enough in my pipeline to hit my revenue targets or not. So it's like a wake-up call. And by crikey, when you're in business for yourself, and you know, most financial planners, they might be part of an advisory group, they're under an umbrella, but you are in business for yourself, even within the practice you work in. And so you can fool yourself very easily that you've got enough going on when really there's not enough in your pipeline. And having it right there in front of you as a concrete pipeline forecast report, that's a tool that I just love, and it keeps me accountable to, it's like a bit of a kick up the butt to make sure I do put in those 2 or 3 hours of prospecting or pipeline conversion activity each week. Because if I don't, my kids aren't going to eat in 6 months' time. It's that real and it's that simple. And for most financial planners, because I've coached a lot of them, and when I ask them to, you know, they say, oh, I've got a pipeline you can't jump over. And what I like to do is open up their pipeline and have a look in. I go, hello. And the pipeline kind of goes, hello, 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 hello. And kind of echoes back at us, because there's not much in there that's really about to land and is certain to come across the line. So, you know, pipeline management, that's, you've just got to up the ante on getting really serious and real with yourself as to whether you've got enough in there and what are you going to do about it.
Ian, that is such fantastic advice. And normally I would end it here on such a strong note. and then talk about how we're going to be doing a lot more of these. But I want to hold you for a little bit longer because I want to reiterate something. And once again, that's so key. Yeah, it's great to have a good pipeline. However, and what I love about the way when you take your clients through this process is the first thing you go is, well, how big should your pipeline be? What is your sales cycle? What are your sales targets? If you don't know that, then you might think you've got a great pipeline because you've got 5 people in it, but it could be not a great pipeline. So do you want to just quickly finish off by just talking about the importance of knowing strategically what you need for the next year?
Yeah, Scotty, what I recommend to people is that you get really clear on the end number you want and then reverse it back. Get into doing what I call a bit of reverse planning. If I want that number to land at the end of 3 months or 6 months, then how many clients does that mean I have to get across the line? If I have to see 3 clients to get one across the line, now I know exactly how many meetings I have to conduct. And if I need 5 referrals to get one person to agree to have a meeting with me online these days, then that also tells me the number of times I've got to ask for referrals, for example. So, success in financial planning or any sales industry for that matter is just a numbers game. So get really clear on your numbers and your key conversion ratios, right? See, I know I need to speak to 3 people to get one across the line. So now it's just a numbers game. And every time someone says no, it's like, woo, beautiful to say yes, and you've got to wire it that way. Yeah. So I'd invite everyone to sit down right now and think about, well, what is your 3-month and 6-month goal, even with the current environment playing out? And because, whatever target you set for yourself is what you're most likely going to hit. And most people won't be setting any targets. They'll just be sitting back and reacting and trying to survive it rather than getting proactive and get on the front foot. And I think that's where people need to get really savvy and smart about using the sort of technology that you guys have created that goes gangbusters for me in automating lead generation and getting conversations happening with your ideal, what I call your selected available market, the ideal client for you. Use LinkedIn and social media to get nice conversations happening so that you can position setting up that meeting. And this next 3-6 months could be a little intermission that allows you to really ramp things up to bring it home in 2020 in a way that you never imagined.
Ian, that was an outstanding. Thank you so much. Awesome advice. I'm looking forward to doing our next panels discussions as well as part of the great sales trainers and great sales methodologies of the world, and doing more of these interviews with you. That's fantastic. Like I said, anyone listening, contact me on at majestic3.com. But Ian, very quickly, give us your website, and if they want to jump on a call with you quickly, how would they go about it?
Yes, you can contact me at Ian Stevens, that's Stevens with a PH, so ianstevens.com, and just hit the contact me button and I'll get back to you.
Ian, such a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me on scottcundill.com.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.